For today's cup of coffee, I'm going to give you my take on watching Dr. Stephen Greer's National Press Club event. And before you think, oh, this has been done to death, no, it really hasn't, because this was much more important than I ever dreamed that it would be. And mainstream media totally misrepresented this. So you know that there was important information there. I will include the link to the video there on YouTube again, and it is lengthy, but because that the speakers are so engaging, it doesn't feel like you're watching for 3 hours. And some of these people impressed me more than others. It was important to watch them, not just listen to them. I had thought that maybe you could just do something else, wash dishes or whatever. No, you need to see the looks on these people's faces. And one's more than others. It wasn't necessarily as much about UFOs/UAPs as it was about shadow government. That was highly stressed during this. Dr. Greer was talking about how that Congress and the president needs to hold these people accountable, and I'm like, you're delusional. Because what would be the point in that? We have had so many people that have testified and lied blatantly to Congress lately, and nothing is ever done. So what makes us believe that if it was about UFOs or alien technology, that anything else would be done? Because he was explaining how that this shadow government, and it wasn't just him, it was these other people, and there is proof. Our puppet government that the people see have no power. That was the most horrifying thing about listening to what these people had said. Of course, that they also explained that the crafts that people are seeing, those have been produced by humans through reverse engineering. Now, whether you believe any of this stuff or not, I will tell you this, the speakers are very compelling. Lieutenant Colonel Donald Heckert, his sort of, it just didn't catch my attention. I'm just being honest on this. And then you had Marine Michael Herrera, and that was Cup of Coffee 2090. He was the one that his troop, they were there on some kind of aid mission or whatever, and that these unidentified military people had taken their weapons and all these different things, threatened them, but they did see this craft that appeared to be loading drugs and or human trafficking. Yeah, that's pretty much a human thing. And that these people were threatened. And you can tell the ones that it's taken a lot of courage to get up there and discuss these things, because people are being disappeared quite frequently when they put forth truths like this. There was also another one that was just incredible to listen to him, a little bit challenging, but that was, he was Army, he was disabled gentleman. It's Stephen Dinga Jr., and he had traumatic brain injury. Apparently this man was, far as bombs, I don't know if he got blowed up or something, but it's just, he's very damaged. He's still a very intelligent human being. He does lose train of thought. Of course I do too right now, in case you haven't noticed. I'll explain that at the end of this also. Just compelling. Not only did he witness things while he was in the military that had to do with Raytheon, but soon after what he witnessed, he was abducted, he and his wife. It ended up where their marriage fell apart, all these things from this incident. He was aware that some of the people that were doing the experiments on them are the people, he said that they were all human. So working in league with, not sure. One of that was the most emotional listening to was DC Long. And he was a former Army Ranger. And Mr. Long, he had actually witnessed UFOs and stuff when he was 13. His father was a government contractor. And so they allowed him to go down into one of these secret bases. Of course, everything's underground. I mean, of course it is. And these underground bases are huge. I mean, just huge. After they had gone and witnessed, and they were like, oh, look down, don't look around, any of this stuff, they had tried to get them to sign non-disclosure agreements. And his father, they didn't think anything. They didn't think that they had seen anything that was important enough to where they would have to sign one of those. So they didn't. And within 24 hours, government came in and seized all of this man's father's everything, leaving him homeless. And then the relationship with his father, and he adored his father. When you hear him speak about it, he just idolized him. And it destroyed the relationship. And then Mr. Long himself went on as far as being in the military. He was, again, an Army Ranger, and that he was a paratrooper and was getting ready to do a jump. And he said that he was attacked by a paratrooper escort that he had known and trusted. And that this guy threw a static line, which I don't know, I guess it's one of those big metal clips or something like that, threw it at him, which snapped his neck. And then, of course, he survived. Said that he was then told his career in the military was over due to his injuries. He also ended up homeless for a period of time. Not only was he homeless, lots of thoughts of self-harm. And to hear him explain why he is now coming out and speaking about these things, very inspirational. And God bless whoever it was that went in and helped this man. And then you had another one that was Eric Hecker, and he was a Raytheon contractor at the South Pole. And his was very brief because the event wasn't supposed to go as long as it did. I guess it had to do with renting the venue and different things like that. Not sure. They really should have thought about how long these people were going to speak. When you've got somebody that is that emotional, you are not going to be able to limit them to a hard and fast 15 minutes or whatever on that. And so Mr. Hecker was discussing and worked in neutrino observatory stuff. He was an electrician. I fought him with cats, sorry. And he said this neutrino observatory is actually dealing with light weapons. Now, I had heard a lot of people hint about this over the past few years. In some of the recent California wildfires that happened a year or so ago, people had witnessed these green laser beams. They had even videoed some of them coming down before the wildfire started. And so he's proposing that is one of the energy weapons. And also that they do have the technology to cause earthquakes. Like I said, they can call it tinfoil hat if they want to, but when you hear these people speak about these things, it's totally different. And he was talking about ELF, electromagnetic attack weapons, and that system that he had wired, they had claimed that some of these things were inactive. And he's like, oh no, it's operative and running. So that's sobering. And then you had, as far as Derek Garcia, he was discussing protecting these whistleblowers and witnesses and urging other people. I think he's one of the attorneys that's working pro bono. They did ask for help from the public. I think Dr. Greer said that he had like 1 trillion whatever of data, that anybody that has computer skills and could help get these things to where they are online and where the public can have access to them, he would appreciate the help. The things that concern me about Greer himself, and I've had misgivings, and it's one of those, is this a matter of half-truths mixed with lies? I don't know. I'm not going to judge him. That's why I want you all to go and watch this for yourself. what concerned me is he made several globalist statements. And it's one of those, no, that is not the way to go, because that's New World Order right there. And it's like, okay, which side are you on? Because there are sides in this battle. He also made comments about how some of this technology could help with the environment and this, and that, and the other. And it's like, we understand we're being horribly lied to about some of the environmental problems. There's an agenda with that. The thing that bothered me greatly also was that he stated that all extraterrestrials were not hostile and should be welcomed. This totally goes against some other witnesses that I have heard their testimonies over the years that said, yes, these things are malevolent, even as far as the reptilians, and there's lots of other, and the mantis people, that they were not warm and fuzzy. Not sure where he's getting on that. And as far as him saying, oh, they should be welcomed, any kind of, if you want to call it extra dimensional, if you want to call it intradimensional, I think I said extra dimensional, extraterrestrial rather, you have to welcome these things in, be they good or be they bad. This is just what came to my heart while I was listening to him on that. And also, he was saying that there is a time frame on some of these issues, that we have before 2026 to bring the shadow government under control before they start using weapons that could bring disorder to the fabric of space and time, which is, not only in humanity's interest, but supposedly in the interest of these other beings. And he wasn't joking. Now, if this was bullshit, this was some well-acted bullshit. I will tell you that. Something else that was troubling, when one of the reporters had asked him, and a lot of it was independent journalists, which is great. That was great. Everybody was respectful. They took their turn. They allowed people to speak. Nobody was screaming over top of each other. None of that. But somebody did ask him a question about the Van Allen radiation belt. And he just sort of quickly shut that question down and glib answer of, oh, that's no problem for extraterrestrials. And it's like, no, that just, it was weird. It didn't sit right. And then also when he was asked by another reporter about the genetic manipulation of species, because we've all heard how that different genetic material is being harvested from humans, that he stated that humans are behind those experiments, which that wouldn't surprise me. But what DNA would they be trying to mix that they can't just on a regular up and up basis? So that didn't make any sense. We have been aware of this human alien hybrid program for years. So not sure why Greer didn't discuss any of that. He didn't even want to get into that. As far as the mainstream media, that goes into that propaganda, that mockingbird media bullshit stuff of, they just want to talk about little green men. They just talking about this. No, they didn't mention anything about the shadow governments or anything. Now, I think that in the one gentleman's, Herrera, I think is his name. I just took that off my screen, of course, when I needed it. The fact that the people that waylaid him and the company Marines, that they didn't have any kind of insignia, that they had American accents. But as far as having any kind of normal military identification, no, that wasn't there. The Daily Mail, that's where I get a lot of my stuff from. They did cover that part of it, but as far as digging down into any kind of shadow government, anything like that, no. Because it's not just the United States that's dealing with this, it's all of them. Because New World Order and Agenda 2030, it's broad and deep, and it was sobering. I'm not going to sit there and say that just because I talk about this stuff that it doesn't occasionally frighten me, because it can be frightening. It's troubling. It's highly troubling, especially when dude was talking about, oh, we've got until 2026 to get a handle on this. Okay, and if we can't, these seemingly totally non-violent extraterrestrials, what are they going to do? If they're that brilliant and loving and kind, that they know that the average human has no clue what the hell's going on. So I would hate to think that they'd throw the babies out with the bathwater. That is my take on it. Oh, and as far as being a little bit slower in speech, I've had this problem for a while. And so I am trying to wean myself off of a medication that I've been on for 10 years for depression. It's Lamictal, which is not, it's one of those that it's not listed as a treatment for hard to treat depression, but it is used for that. And I'm thinking, I've been on this for 10 years. I don't know what it's doing to me. So tapering off. So that's why you're getting some of the long pauses, the drops in words, stuff like that. So just, yeah, a little bit of grace for me. I'd appreciate that. Anyhow, if you've had experiences with the paranormal, supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, I really am interested in hearing your comments. Those of you who have taken the time to watch Dr. Greer's event, put those in the comments, read other people's comments. Send me an email if you want to, if you don't want to discuss it publicly, or what you think is publicly. cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com, and that will be in the description box as well. It's worth discussing. It's worth discussing with each other, with others. It certainly is time well spent to watch this. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Know that you are loved. Prayers are always appreciated for our family as we pray for you all. And Lord willing, we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.